Hey guys, welcome to another episode of JoesTech. On the last episode, we did the unboxing of the EVGA GTX 1070 Superclocked edition. So I thought this time maybe what we could do is take a look at how it performs. So a couple things I wanted to mention real quick before we get started. If it's not obvious, I don't really have some crazy high-end gaming machine that's completely current. I built this machine probably 3-4 years ago. It has a i7 970 X58 chipset motherboard, 18 gigs of triple channel RAM. At the time, it was really great. Obviously, probably not as efficient as whatever's current, like a 6700K or the new 6800K. But basically, what ended up happening is I had two GTX 470s, which again at the time when I built the machine were awesome. Over time, I just found myself having the need for something else. They were really inefficient power-wise. They were just, I think I had like a 900 watt power supply when I first built it, and it just kept shutting off because it wasn't enough power for whatever reason. So in my search for a graphics card a few months back, I found GTX 970. So initially I had purchased one 970, and then they announced all of a sudden that the 10 series were coming out, so naturally I had to try to return that card, which I was able to do, and then finally waited all this time to get the EVGA 1070. So the second thing I want to mention is I am by no means hardcore superclock, overclock fanatic. I'm definitely learning. Didn't really have an interest in overclocking anything until more recently. Like I mentioned, the i7 970 I haven't even overclocked that yet. Obviously, could potentially be in the future as something to hold me over until I can afford to do a little bit better of an upgrade. But with that being said, let's see what we can do. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the EVGA Precision X overclocking utility. So I have noticed that typically my GPU clock will hang down pretty low unless it's under load. So apparently because I'm capturing my screen, it's probably added a little bit of a load there. So what I'll probably do is after we run these tests, so you can kind of see where things are, I'll go back and run whatever tests we end up doing without a screen capture going, and then we can kind of see if it makes a difference or not. So first, before we get started, let's leave all the settings like they are, and let's just run a benchmark without changing anything. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the video, not a crazy high-end setup, still running 1080p screens. I know somebody out there is probably going to destroy me for running a test and having a card like this with only a 1080p display, but whatever. So let's run that. Should take a minute to kick off. And most likely what I'll do is I'll just let you guys see it get started, and then I'll post the results at the end in a second here. Well guys, I just wrapped up the first benchmark. This is out-of-box settings. Looks like I've got an average 95.8 frames per second, score of 2,413. You can kind of see my specs down below if you didn't catch them for whatever reason at the beginning of the video. So next, let's get out of here. Close this, close all this, blah blah. And let's take a look at this again. And I've done a little bit of trial and error. So let's see if we can adjust this to where I think we need to be. I want to say we can go up to about 80, and this, we're going to get crazy. We're going to bump up to about 600. And I did do this earlier, and I've gotten mixed results, so I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. But yeah, let's leave it like that. And alright, you can see here the benchmark finished up for the plus 70 megahertz to the GPU and plus 600 megahertz to the memory clock offset. Looks like we got about 6 extra frames per second, and obviously a bump in score. I was hoping it would be a little higher, but obviously we're kind of limited because we weren't able to get the GPU as high as I believe other people are getting it. A couple things might come into play. First of all, it is pretty warm in here. It's probably like approaching 80 degrees now that I've been testing here for a couple hours. The second thing I could imagine would be a problem would be my test bench, right? Because it's an older system, like I mentioned before. Maybe it's kind of bottlenecking the graphics card a little bit. Either way, I'm going to try running these benchmarks with nothing else running on the machine and see if that makes a difference. Right now I have the screen capture software running and then just a couple other things that I had open. So I'm going to shut all that stuff off and then do a couple benchmarks with nothing set, and then this same configuration of 70 megahertz and 600 megahertz, and see what we get. I'll go ahead and post all those numbers in the description, and I'll follow up with you when I'm done with these tests. Now for the recap. The benchmarks are all done. I tested it out of the box. Pretty great performance, actually, I thought. As far as overclocking goes, I think I was hoping for a little more, and maybe it's something that I'm doing, or maybe it's just the test bench that I'm using, being that it's kind of dated hardware. But I pretty much got about 5 frames per second after the overclock, stable at 60 degrees. Not exactly the coolest day here. I don't have air conditioning or anything running in here, so it's probably like, high 70s in the room here. End of the day, honestly, the card performs way better than the monitor that I have, the display I have. Obviously, it's going to be a great performer for me. I kind of just wanted to make a quick video to show the performance I'm getting and show kind of the settings that I used. And hopefully, if you guys have any feedback or if somebody sees something maybe I did incorrectly, feel free to leave a comment below. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit like or subscribe, and hopefully I can get some more content going for you guys. Talk to you soon.